So for this video, we're taking a look at another Indicator release, Force 10 from Navarone. For those that don't know, it's the sequel to the Guns of Navarone, film back from the 60s with Gregory Peck and David Niven. So yeah, this is the sequel to it. Obviously it's made in the 70s, late 70s, so David Niven and Gregory Peck were a bit old by the time it was made, so they recast them. Robert Shaw took the Gregory Peck role of Mallory. Edward Fox took the David Niven role of Miller. If you're not familiar with Guns of Navarone, basically it's a squad of guys in World War II who were tasked with destroying these two big guns that were placed on an island, so the Navy could go in and rescue all these troops that were trapped. So basically, these two guys are then tasked with another mission to frustrate the German war effort, and this time they hook up with some US troops, and they've got Harrison Ford in there as the colonel, and then also Carl Weathers is there as well, and then they go to Yugoslavia and they meet up with some partisans there, Franco Nero and Barbara Bach and Richard Gere as well, because it's almost 2 decades after the original. It's quite a different film, a bit more tongue-in-cheek, doesn't take itself quite as seriously, and I think it got a bit criticised at the time because of that. Personally, I find it a bit more fun than Guns of Navarone. I don't know, have you seen it?
See, I don't know. I think I've definitely seen Guns of Navarone, but I don't know. I mean, I love these big war ensemble films. I'm a huge fan of Dirty Dozen, Kelly's Heroes. I was just trying to think while you were talking. What are all the big war ensemble? Especially because I love all the 1970s ones, and then obviously you go back to the 60s and got The Great Escape, and I love all the Prisoner of War films, Great Escape, and all the others. Stalag 17 is that one, the Billy Wilder one, and is it the Trojan Horse? The Trojan Horse, the wooden box, the one with the it's the British one when they all get under the box. The thing you'd bounce over when you do gym at school. That thing.
Oh, what is that? It's just got a horse, isn't it?
Horse, that's it. But I don't think the film's called The Wooden Horse. The Wooden Horse. That might be what it. Anyway.
Anyway,
it's got great. It's black and white, but it's a great fun film though.
Yeah.
And they dig the tunnel under that, obviously. So when they're all out, they're all jumping over it, doing their gym, and then they're all down there digging the hole.
I see.
It's great.
Right.
I mean, all those old kind of prisoner of war movies, and yeah, obviously films like Dirty Dozen and all that. I have a feeling I probably have seen it, but when I was thinking about it, I was like, God, war film with Harrison Ford, I can't remember it.
I was going to say it's probably quite interchangeable with a lot of those films. I mean, there were so many of these men on a mission films that were made over that time. I mean, I would say by the time this one came out in the late 70s, they kind of had their day. So, I mean, I think that might be why it wasn't particularly well received. And obviously, as a sequel to a film that was almost 20 years old and was, very highly regarded and was massively successful when it came out, it was always going to struggle to live up to that. I think its biggest strength is the cast. Robert Shaw was great, Edward Fox as well. And Harrison Ford, obviously, this was the first film he'd done since Star Wars when he, was suddenly a megastar. He's really watchable. I mean, he always is later years. Gets a bit grumpy, maybe doesn't care quite as much in some of the roles he's in, but at this point, he's just really cool. And you got Carl Weathers, like I said, Carl Weathers from Rocky, the guys from Bond, Barbara Bach and Richard Gere. Of course, it's also directed by Bond veteran Guy Hamilton, who directed 4 of the Bond movies. Anyway, onto the disc. So it's one of the hard case sets that Indicator like to do. Obviously, you get the disc in there, nice 80-page book, which has got loads of photos and various interviews with the producers and the writer, lots of information on the making of the film, an interview with Robert Shaw as well, who he passed away before the film was even released. He had a heart attack at 51 when he was making Avalanche Express. In the interview, he just says that he only did the film for money, basically. And even Harrison Ford's not particularly complimentary about it either, just because he could get his name above the title, which then would allow him to command more money. So yeah. real passion behind the project. As far as the disc goes, it's got 2 versions of it. You've got the original theatrical cut, and you've also got the extended version. And then it has a featurette on the different versions as well, explaining the differences. And you would normally expect an extended version to have an extra scene or 2 in it, because it's not, it's only sort of 10 or so minutes long, I think, longer. Not even that, 8 minutes longer. But you would expect that to be like maybe a couple of extra scenes or something. But it's not. It's kind of just recut. It's like slightly longer shots and a couple of longer scenes. And there's also a lot of audio. While it's a longer film, there's less lines spoken in it. After Robert Shaw died, he couldn't redub any of his lines. So they had someone else come in and mimic him and do that. And Harrison Ford did quite a lot. He got quite a few extra lines that he dubbed afterwards. When you couldn't see his face. And there's loads, and you do notice there's a lot of lines spoken off by characters that are off camera. For that simple reason, they were just dubbed in afterwards. So it's got quite an interesting thing about that, and even music cues and shots reordered as well. Quite why that was done, it doesn't sort of explore that in that featurette anyway. But you've got commentary and loads of other things. And as with a few indicator releases now, there's a BEHP interview as well with Ron Goodwin, who was the composer, and also again the Super 8 version as well for completists out there who want that version as well. Another absolutely stacked release from Indicator. I mean, I'm not sure why they've picked this. I guess the rights were available.
Yeah, it's funny also because I don't know why. I mean, they don't do a lot of those box releases. I mean, we spoke about Scum because they did that in a box. Then most of their releases are, Waterman, look at that, are the limited edition ones with, obviously they have the booklet in, and then they release a standard edition months later without the booklet in. But most of them are done like that. Just occasionally they do the box like that. I mean, I'm not quite sure why they choose some to do in the box. Obviously, you've got some nice artwork on the front of that.
Yeah, sure. You get some nice production stills as well and postcards. So they're nice to have. I would say there's more extras on this than the average release. Right.
I mean, because Scum, that was packed with stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah. So maybe that's why if it's got loads and loads of extras, they stick it in a box. I don't know, but and obviously the booklet is thicker than the normal ones as well. So maybe it just depends on what they can get their hands on and they feel is worth putting in. I don't know, but yeah, obviously it wasn't particularly well received critically. It was a bit of a flop at the box office as well. At the time, it wasn't really breaking any new ground. There were plenty of films doing similar things and already done them. Obviously, Star Wars had come out the previous year, and then sci-fi was suddenly huge. So war films.
Well, that's the thing. I just remembered another one, which is The Bridge Too Far, which is an incredible war film with Sean Connery's in there, James Caan is in there, loads of other. They kind of mix over like American actors and British actors and. These big ensemble cast, but you're right. I mean, by the end of the 70s, sci-fi, Star Wars comes along, and and then obviously the Spielberg, the George Lucas, these blockbusters were kind of taking over. These films felt a little bit old by that point. And then of course in the 80s you've got all the action films, the Schwarzeneggers and the Stallones and all those guys came along. I mentioned The Dirty Dozen. I mean, The Dirty Dozen had a sequel in the 80s, which was terrible. It just wasn't. It wasn't as exciting or as good as the original one. So, these films were coming to an end, I think.
And if there were war movies being made, they were Vietnam War for the most part.
Yes,
because that was obviously still quite fresh.
And that was the indicator release of Force 10 from Navarone. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Hit the subscribe button over there, and don't forget to push that bell for notifications. There's other videos to check out over here. Come and find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and join us again soon for another video.